Thank you, everyone, for being here today. I am so happy you're here. I'm so happy to be here with you and excited to be exploring together being human. Last night and this morning, my beloveds and my close friends were checking in with me and were saying, "How are you feeling?" And I said, "I'm really nervous." And they all had the same advice, which was, just be yourself. It's great advice and really hard to do. And one of the big themes of my talk today. I find being human really hard sometimes too. I don't know if others here agree. It can also be joyful, wondrous, and thrilling. The brands, which capture that full range of the human experience, show up as human as well. They make us feel seen, heard, and understood, and unleash in us what is most meaningful about being human. Our ability to form deep connections, to overcome huge obstacles, and to dream and turn those dreams into reality. The brands which inspire this in us are rewarded with investment, revenue, loyalty, awards, and more. And that is also how they tap into and shift culture. We are all craving humanness now more than ever with our tech overwhelm, political divisiveness, polarization, climate disasters, war, loneliness epidemic, and growing mental health crisis. I'm here to offer a human-centered storytelling framework that provides an antidote to that. Because the stories we tell ourselves and we tell others shape our world. You can use this framework as a brand, a nonprofit, a leader, and for each one of us as we navigate this complex journey of life. My insights are gleaned from years as a documentary filmmaker who works with brands and a storytelling guide who works with leaders. Because we're in the brand and advertising track, I've picked my examples from the ad world. But my tactics are applicable to all forms of storytelling in any medium. My framework is grounded in 3 storytelling principles. The first is listen with an open heart. I recently worked with the Commissioner of Children and Families in New Jersey, Christine Beyer, who is overhauling the foster care system there. She is on a mission to keep families together instead of breaking them apart. And she hired me to make a film that would drive support for her overhaul. Her overhaul started from a listening tour she did when she first took office. Throughout the state, she heard over and over again from people of color how her agency had destroyed families and whole communities. And as a result, she launched an initiative that involved even deeper listening. She invited people who had grown up in foster care to work with her agency and co-design a system that would support families so they never become a call to the hotline in the first place. For the film, I suggested we tell the stories of a few of the co-designers, and I'm really excited to introduce you now to 3 people I grew to know well and love making the film. Here's the trailer.
Throughout my childhood, I'd lay in bed at night wondering where I came from, why I should continue to be. I was suicidal at 6 years old. I had no sense of why I mattered and where I belonged.
I've been through foster care since age 4, then moved into a psychiatric hospital, then 60 placements in the next year. Rapid, you're moving. My experience in the system was survival.
I was taken, I was placed, I was put through the system. It makes me an expert in something I never wanted to be. But if you're gonna give me that knowledge, respect it. You don't get to do the harm and then not listen when I say it harmed me.
I don't ever want to try and defend what happened to someone at the hands of child welfare. I decided in doing this job that I wasn't going to make excuses.
It is possible to transform an entire system. At the heart of it is really the voice of those with lived experience, driving the change.
Usually when community is asked to offer input, the system sets the table. But we're just showing up at the table that you are consistently setting for us.
Me and you are a team, so we have to work together. I'm not here to take your children or anything like that. We want to keep your family together.
There's love here. There's love out here. The system could have gave me anything that says comfort on it, but nothing that says family. So when we talking about reimagining the system, we talking about reimagining the system with more ANCALs, right? With more families that's able to support.
Removed from everything that you know, the work that we're doing is going to prevent that from happening going forward.
I feel like we're starting the revolution, but the revolution is a long time coming in child welfare.
I'm not here to say it's all bad, but in order for us to fix it, you have to hear the raw, the grief, the loss, the celebration, the beauty, and you listen to all of it. Let's give each family the absolute best chance to make it.
So Christine Byer's goal with this film and her greatest challenge with her overhaul is changing the attitudes and behavior of her 6,600 employees and the general public who think it's her agency's job to save children from their families and to build trust with the families they serve. I listened with an open heart when I was filming with Deshawn, Tamia, and Kayanne. That was the only way I would be able to achieve those goals. I showed up with deep care and compassion, genuine attention and interest, and free of judgment. And because I listened with an open heart, they opened their hearts and they expressed the full range of their emotions, which we just saw. And because of that, we see ourselves in them. Their experiences become our experiences. And this leads to our first storytelling truth. We care about, relate to, and bond with people even when they're very different from us, when they express emotions that we feel. That is the power of empathy. And that is why everyone who sees Truth to Transformation comes away convinced of the urgent need to mobilize around the changes Christine Byer is trying to put in place. This kind of engaged listening with an open heart drives connection and understanding in any circumstance and relationship. We all long to be seen, heard, and understood. It is the greatest gift we can receive and give, and it is the only way we are going to find our way out of the mess that our country and our world is in right now. I feel most human and alive when I am in this kind of intimate connection with another. When I'm filming with people, when I'm working with leaders to help them get in touch with their humanness and express that, and something I strive for in all my relationships. I encourage everyone here to try it with your partner, your children, your parents, your friends, your colleagues at work. In fact, studies show that this kind of shared vulnerability is the #1 characteristic of top-performing teams. It makes sense, right? When people feel they can be open and themselves, they are more comfortable, they feel belonging, they're more collaborative, creative, and innovative. Let's now see how listening with an open heart helped a brand define its values and in turn drive engagement, awareness, and cultural change. In 2020, champion gymnast Simone Biles shocked the world when she dropped out of the Tokyo Olympics. She needed to protect her physical and mental well-being. Some called her a quitter, a failure, a national disgrace. And for others, she was a hero, especially those struggling with a mental health condition. She helped normalize that struggle and made them feel less alone. Last year, Powerade welcomed Biles back to the Olympics with this spot.
She was expected to be the star of the Olympics. Simone Biles, greatest gymnast, is saying, "I'm not myself." She has on her shoulders.
This is huge. The pressure on these young athletes is greater than ever.
When you're the greatest ever, you want everything you do to be the greatest, and we haven't seen that from her tonight.
I had no idea where I was in the air. You could literally see it in my eyes in the pictures, like I was petrified. I felt broken. That's why I decided to take a pause. It's okay to say, I need help. For years, I was only celebrated for my wins. And now it's like, for being a human, for being vulnerable. I had to prove to myself that I could still get out here, twist, I could prove all the haters wrong, that I'm not a quitter. One moment you're on top of the world, and the next you find yourself gasping for air. I had to relearn to trust myself. I still have to dig deep down and remember why I'm doing it. And do it for the little girl.
This is a fantastic triumph by one of the greatest athletes.
Is an all-around world champion.
That is an incredible spot, and she is a remarkable human. So the vault was voted the most moving spot of the Paris Olympics by a leading content testing platform. And there, Simone Biles pulled off one of the greatest sports comebacks in history, winning 4 Olympic medals. When she dropped out of the Tokyo Olympics, the media wondered if her sponsors would drop her, the norm when an athlete stops competing. Powerade did the opposite. People there listened with an open heart, and they saw Biles and other athletes they sponsor in their fullness as human beings, not just performance machines. This led the people at Powerade to launch Pause is Power. Powerade had always been about empowering athletes, but until then, their marketing focused on the product's benefits, the right mix of ingredients to keep an athlete hydrated during a strenuous workout. Powerade now also stands for empowering their mental well-being and also challenging the win-at-all-cost mentality of sports. Our next storytelling truth illustrates just one of many benefits when a brand talks about its values in its marketing. When brands talk about their product's benefits, they tap into rational thinking. We decide what to buy based on emotion, not rational thinking. To ignite people's emotions, tell stories about your values and beliefs. In creating Pause is Power, Powerade also listened to Gen Z and millennials, the two groups that buy the most health drinks. Many in those groups prioritize happiness over relentless striving. And with 42% of Gen Z adults in the US alone diagnosed with a mental health condition, they're drawn to companies that care about mental health. So we see how Powerade seized a cultural moment to drive awareness and emotional engagement, and also to define its values and beliefs. These are smart marketing strategies, but only if a brand has the right to join those cultural and values-driven conversations. Even now, when we're seeing this backlash against purpose in advertising, studies tell us that most people, and especially Gen Z and millennials, still want to buy from, work at, and invest in companies that share their values. But they want to see action, not just talk. Powerade is putting bold action behind their claims. First, by not dropping athletes like Biles and others who have needed to take a pause, and by telling stories about them that lift the stigma around mental illness. And Powerade recently launched a groundbreaking legal initiative, which they've written into their contract with their athletes, the legal guarantee for them to take a break if they need it. They hope this will become the industry norm. As for Simone Biles, in January, Sports Illustrated named her Athlete of the Year. She has won more Olympic and world medals than any other gymnast, and she has changed the face of gymnastics. Her greatest legacy may be her humanness. In Tokyo, she had negative self-talk running on repeat in her head. I wonder if anyone here can relate to that. I definitely can. She also cracked under the weight of other people's expectations. Psychologists and neuroscientists tell us both of these are very common and almost universally experienced human characteristics. And a large and famous Harvard study has discovered that people have two top regrets at the end of their lives. This is one of them. People say, I wish I hadn't spent so much time worried about what other people thought of me, about trying to meet other people's expectations. Dr. Zach Bush, a leading hospice doctor, echoes this. He hears some version of this at the end of most people's lives. People say, quote, I was performing the whole time. I was afraid to be me. I needed other people's approval or to meet other people's expectations to define who I was. Let's all learn from Simone Biles' humanness and embrace the fullness of our humanness now. Let's not wait until our deathbeds to cast off other people's expectations. In Tokyo, and for 2 years after, she took the pause she needed to listen to herself with an open heart, to trust herself again, to find the joy in gymnastics again, and to build the mental fortitude to reach her dreams, her goals in Paris. She now says she has the mental strength to reach her wildest dreams. So kudos to Powerade for celebrating and embracing her for her humanness as much as for her gymnastics achievements. Another way a brand can be human is by telling stories of struggle and triumph. Our second storytelling principle. On January 1st, 2023, the Marvel and Mayor of Kingstown actor Jeremy Renner was crushed by a snowplow in his driveway. It sliced his liver, punctured a lung, and broke 38 of his bones. Here he is in the ICU on life support. Doctors told him he might never walk again. When Renner started posting on social media about his accident, the people at Brooks sent him running sneakers to aid in his recovery. You can imagine how thrilled they were 10 months later when they saw a video he posted on his Instagram of him doing recovery drills wearing their sneakers. Last year, when the Brooks team had to pick who would launch the ad for their first global campaign in 25 years, Renner was an obvious choice. An actor with wide reach, a genuine fan, and someone with a deeply moving story. We're now going to watch Love, Hope, and Titanium, the 90-second cut-down of the launch video of Brooks' new campaign, Let's Run There.
I have no business doing a running commercial. 15 months ago, I was dead. My doctor said I would never walk again. They said, you're never running again. That's not happening.
Marvel star Jeremy Renner is hospitalized after being injured in a snow plowing accident.
I'm pretty tenacious and stubborn. Guess I can't be killed. I think I had too much to live for. Brooks happened to shoes, right? We were reading about your stuff on Instagram and think it's so inspirational. I just wanted to see maybe have some shoes that'll help you out. I put those shoes on, they have so much cushion in them, it's so good on my joints. It's been a big part of my recovery, wearing the shoes and running down that driveway. That was a big day for me. Gave me a lot of hope. The only power we have as human beings is the power of our perspective. That is a superpower. Your mistakes, your failures, those are your allies. That's your fuel. I'm proud that I'm walking, and I'm proud that I've taken something that could be perceived as tragic and turned it into a superpower. Proud of that. Wherever there is for you, a new beginning, a dream, a goal, let's run there.
He is remarkable. He has a book coming out and really incredible. So this spot was the most successful in Brooks's over 100-year history. It achieved wide reach, engagement, and awards. Renner, and by association Brooks, are incredibly human here. That's because struggle is central to the human experience. We all struggle sometimes in figuring out who we are. That's a really hard one. And our place in the world, in our relationships with others, and when we face challenges that seem insurmountable until we tackle them. Struggle is both the burden and the joy of being human, because it's also how we learn, grow, and figure out what we're capable of, as Renner has done. Remarkably, 1 year after his accident, he was filming season 3 of The Mayor of Kingstown. He says his accident has made him a lucky man, surrounded by love, more connected to the people in his life, and full of gratitude at every moment. Behavioral economist Dan Ariely in his studies has discovered that sense of achievement we get when we tackle and overcome a challenge is what brings people the greatest fulfillment at work, even more than money. So for the leaders in the room, take note. Give your people the guidance and the support they need, and then let go. They may make mistakes. They may fail sometimes, and that's okay. As Renner says in this spot, our mistakes and our failures are our fuel and our allies. It's how we learn by doing, forge breakthroughs, and innovate. In terms of story arc, Struggle and Triumph is the best way to grab and hold an audience's attention, and also the best way to take people on a powerful emotional journey through the people you feature. The scientific term for this is narrative transportation, and we've seen it in every spot so far today. It's why I love, best of all as a director, telling stories of struggle and triumph. I am forever in awe of the strength of our human spirit. The classic struggle-triumph structure goes like this. Someone, a character or a person, has a goal with high stakes, so bad things that will happen if they don't reach their goal, obstacles that get in the way of achieving that goal. The character has to struggle to get there, transforms in the process. And the bigger the goal, the bigger the stakes, the bigger the obstacles, and the harder the person has to struggle, the more we travel with and through them on that journey of narrative transportation. If the person reaches their goal, then your audience feels empowered to convert their emotion to action. This story structure also enables a brand to feature their product in an organic, authentic way. Renner is the hero of the spot we just watched, but so is Brooks, because their sneakers helped him reach his goal. This brings us to the next storytelling truth. Integrate what you're selling in a narrative story of struggle and triumph. If your product helps the hero reach their goal, it will be the hero too. There's another advantage as well. We take in and remember information 22 times better when it's delivered in service to a narrative story. As for Brooks, they are on their own journey, one more of a steady climb to triumph. When the brand was launched in 1914, they sold ballet slippers, bathing shoes, baseball cleats, and other sporting goods. The people there in the 1980s saw early on the growing trend in running and went all in. That risk has paid off. Brooks has been the top running shoe in the United States the past 2 years, overtaking Nike in 2022. And they have big plans for growth and expansion. So while Nike is focused on the elite athletes, Brooks's mission is to get everyday people running, as they did for Jeremy Renner. Our third storytelling principle is foster imagination. Imagination drives creativity, innovation, and our ability to hope and dream. Amazing human qualities that brands can harness and inspire in us through the stories they tell. As for human traits, some people wonder if AI is going to lead to the end of our humanity. The next spot illustrates the reverse, how it's possible to use AI to tell deeply human stories if we start with our imagination and then harness the AI as a tool to bring that imagination to life in moving ways. Before I play the next spot, well, I'm going to ask, are there Brazilians in the room? Because this next spot is for you. Okay, we're all going to cry together when I play this. Maybe you know, I think you know what the spot is. So a little backstory for the non-Brazilians in the room. In 1982, deeply beloved pop star Elis Regina died. She was 36. Her daughter, Maria Rita, was 4. Maria Rita is now an 8-time Latin Grammy winner and an icon in her own right. To celebrate Volkswagen's 70th anniversary in Brazil, so to honor its past and its legacy, and to introduce its first electric vehicle there, its future, it did something extraordinary. It showcased Elis Regina and Maria Rita performing together, a duet that Brazilians had imagined for decades. In the spot features a recording of Elis Regina singing one of her greatest hits, a song that speaks to the past and the future. And in it, she drives the classic VW van while her daughter drives the electric vehicle and riffs off her mother's voice. Here's the spot.
Não quero lhe falar, meu grande amor, das coisas que aprendi nos discos. Quero lhe contar como eu vivi e tudo o que aconteceu comigo. Viver é melhor que sonhar. Eu sei que o amor é uma coisa boa, mas também sei que qualquer canto é menor do que a vida de qualquer pessoa. Você me pergunta pela minha paixão. Digo que estou encantada como uma nova invenção. Eu sei de tudo na ferida viva do meu coração. Minha dor é perceber que apesar de termos feito tudo que fizemos, nós ainda somos os mesmos e vivemos. Ainda somos os mesmos e vivemos como os nossos pais. Você pode até dizer que eu tô por fora, ou então que eu tô inventando, mas é você que ama o passado e que não vê. É você que ama o passado e que não vê que o novo sempre vem.
Oh, I've lost my father and I'm about to lose my mother, and I cried so hard when I saw that spot the first time. I find it really beautiful. So Maria Rita called the spot a dream come true to get to sing with her mother. The spot was an immediate sensation when it was released in July 2023. It had over 50 million organic views, over 2 billion impressions within a few days. And it topped the trending charts at Google, YouTube, and Twitter. Even the First Lady of Brazil posted on her Twitter saying it had moved her to tears. Some people have questioned the ethics of using a deceased person's likeness without her consent, even though her children who control her estate were on board. And this is the same technology used in dangerous and malicious deepfakes. But the response to this spot has been overwhelmingly positive on social media, in the press, and with the general public. It also last year won 5 Cannes Lions, the highest award in the ad world. Famous science fiction author Arthur C. Clarke once said, "Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic." But many ads made with AI are far from magical. Many are bland, generic, and soulless. That's the worst. But they don't have to be. According to System 1, an ad testing platform, viewers found this spot truly magical. Surprisingly, most viewers didn't even notice or mention the technology used to make it. They were too lost in their emotions and wrapped up in the very human mother-daughter story. System 1's findings support our next storytelling truth. You can harness the magic of AI to tell exceptionally human stories if you start with imagination and use AI as a tool to bring your imagination to life in a moving way, as Volkswagen has done here. The company recently announced it is going to invest an additional $1.83 billion in Brazil in the next 5 years, more than double its current investment. By sparking Brazilians' imagination and emotion, it has further solidified its connection with them. And thank you to the enthusiastic Brazilians in the audience. So, imagination takes a different form. They aired it in last year's Super Bowl right after Usher's halftime show. The NFL's goal with this spot was to drive interest and participation in football around the world. USA Today's ad meter said it was the 5th most popular spot out of the 59 in last year's Super Bowl. It ranked number 1 on David, an AI content testing platform, where it scored particularly high in the emotional indices of inspiration, admiration, hope, and warmth, and very high on attention and brand recall. That's not surprising given how our brains work. When we are moved by something, the emotion stimulates the part of our brain that controls attention and memory. Another great reason to tell stories that move people deeply. Osi Umenora, who's featured at the end of the spot, is a British-Nigerian, 2-time Super Bowl champion. This spot was inspired by a speech he gave at his training camp in Africa. But the creators wisely did not build the spot around him giving a speech. Instead, they take us on that moving, emotional journey of narrative transportation through the little boy, Kwesi. I have seen this spot many times now, and that moment at the end when Kwesi pokes Umenora to make sure he's real still chokes me up. Until that moment, he has used his imagination to conjure up NFL stars Justin Jefferson, Saquon Barkley, and Cameron Jordan. He knows they're not real, but he believes they are. I love this spot so much because it celebrates our ability to harness our imagination to conjure up and create a different reality, a different future than the one in front of us. Neuroscientists tell us that our brains, that we truly do have this ability. It starts with our imagining and then believing in the outcomes we want to see, just like Kwesi has done here. We are all born to play. This brings us to our last storytelling truth. Brands can mobilize us to create positive change by telling stories that ignite our imagination and empower us to forge a different reality and future. In every spot we've seen today, brands and the people they've chosen to feature imagine seemingly impossible goals and then turn them into reality. But what is a brand, a nonprofit, a government agency like the one Christine Baier leads in New Jersey? They're just organizations led by and made up of people like us, human beings like us. Since we have the power to imagine and then create our reality, I ask you this. What kind of future do you want to create? To figure that out, listen with an open heart to yourself, to others, and to the wider world. And then I challenge you to do this. Engage your imagination to set a vision, something big with high stakes. The stakes couldn't get any higher than they are right now. and then set forth on your journey of struggle and triumph. Don't worry about what others think of you. Don't worry about meeting other people's expectations. And if your goal is big enough, you will make mistakes. You will fail sometimes, and that's okay. That is human. And that is the only way that we together will imagine and create a future together where we and our planet can all thrive. Thank you. Okay, so now for Q&A. Thank you all for coming and for staying. There's a lot else pulling at everyone here at South by. So as you explore, I'm just going to take them as they come. As you explore brands capturing storytelling to expand reach, what are some common pitfalls they should avoid? Brands often focus on their product and selling their product, and I understand why. I mean, that's their job. They have to sell their product. They need revenue or they won't stay in business. But I think what we're seeing time and time and time again, especially as people are opting out of advertising, and it's easier and easier to do that, is that you can't interrupt people's enjoyment. You have to become part of their enjoyment. So when brands are capturing storytelling to expand reach, I think the greatest pitfall is still adhering to that desire to make it all about the product instead of about their values or what other good and value that they can provide to people that then build an emotional connection to the brand that will still drive their revenue. So maybe I'll just keep going. So a question from Charles: when does a story of struggle and triumph become too big? Biles and Renner are extraordinary people with extraordinary resources. Impossible for me. So, Charles, wherever Charles is, I have to say that the stories I told with Truth to Transformation, Kaya and Tamia and Deshawn, wow, I mean, they've been through so much, and I mean, they're not ordinary people, they're extraordinary people, but I think that the greatest and most inspiring stories, and for me, the most inspiring stories to tell, are the ones of the everyday person, every one of us. We all have inspiring stories of struggle and triumph. So I don't know if I, have answered that question, but. So what is the biggest challenge when telling stories with and about communities that aren't your own? From Kiara. So Kiara, it's an excellent question. And when the Commissioner of Children and Families in New Jersey and her staff reached out to me because they had gotten my name, and they said, we'd love you to tell our story, I said, I think you need a director of color. Because not because I'm not capable of telling that story, but I am very mindful, and I think we all need to be mindful about who has the chance to tell stories and giving others opportunities as well. She said, I'm white, this is also a story of allyship, And we've seen your work, and we feel that you will tell these stories with great sensitivity. And the interesting thing is, Tamia, Deshawn, and Kayen didn't think twice about the fact that I was an older white woman telling their stories. It's about, for me, showing up, as I said before. I had pre-interview, I had joined a Zoom where I had seen them speaking and felt that I wanted to film with them, and then had an initial Zoom with them where I explained what the film would be about, and made sure that they were game to go on this intense emotional journey with me. And they were keen to tell their stories so that others don't experience what they have. So, in terms of the biggest challenge, I think that the biggest challenge of telling stories with anyone is building trust and being incredibly respectful of the person whose story I'm telling. It's the greatest responsibility ever when someone entrusts me with their story. And so that is, I guess, the greatest challenge, to make sure that I'm being respectful, I'm being true to them, that I'm not taking them places that are deeply triggering or uncomfortable for them. Yeah. So, so again, I'm just going in the order that I'm not being selective. So, Aliana, how do you distinguish between genuine, interactive experiences and manipulation to buy product using emotional response? Again, another great question. I have 3 Gen Z millennial children, and they are quite suspicious of brands that they see that they feel are trying to manipulate them. But again, I think that there are brands that are telling stories and putting bold action behind those stories that are really, truly achieving great impact. Listen, brands have huge reach. They have huge reach. And so they have huge influence. And like our politicians, like AI as a tool, technology, I mean, one has to look at intention. And if the end goal is to sell things and revenue, a company, they need to sell things. That is, kind of why they're in business. But they can also put good into the world, or they can put bad into the world. Technology can be used for good, and it can be used for evil. So I think we have to applaud the companies that are using their influence, their reach, their money to shift culture in positive ways. And even if that's also to drive their revenue, and also driving their revenue, they're also building community this way. They're changing attitudes, they're changing behavior in really positive ways. And so I think we have to applaud them, and that's why the companies that have strong values and are consistent, clear and consistent about those values in what they say and what they do are the most successful, usually, not always, usually the most successful companies. So, so given these principles, how can you make content for longer form storytelling pieces when you have nothing to sell versus advertising spots? Wow, it's, again, that story structure of struggle and triumph, it works whether it's an investor pitch or a documentary or a feature film. They also call it the hero's journey, which gets kind of heady and complicated. But that is, and then finding people who express the full range of human emotion. That is super important. And then take your audience on that journey of narrative transportation through them. We're out of time. Thank you, everyone, so much.